I mentioned this last time, but I think I cut the part where I said this, where it says in dev, will not necessarily change to insert and give you a date of when it'll come out. They have literally just been on and said they are not putting a date to this, but from what they were saying, possibly before TennoCon, which means sometime in June, unless they are going to release it in the next very, very short period of time, which I really doubt considering it's June tomorrow. Or, for you, June today. But they have, in the forums, added, and weirdly this would have came up midway through the dev stream, Sisters of Parvos is in development. But they've done it for console only. It's not here for PC. The last thing PC related was from Friday, but it doesn't go into any other details about what's in there other than it's basically going to bring everything up to date with PC, as well as new ephemeras. Several ones. I actually like the look of this one quite a lot. I thought that was Gora's when I first saw it. Nope, that's one of the new ephemeras that's going to come off the Sisters. As well as, yeah, let's not talk about that, shall we not? I'm literally flicking through these as I go. Some of these weapons look absolutely amazing. The problem is they all have placeholders on them. More importantly, the Super Soaker from there, from when Dog Days returns on June 7th, as you could see, is going to become a actual skin for that. That's got nothing to do with the update. But what does is they kind of showed some of the new weapons, like the Orca Plasmor, that is going to be a Sisters of Parvos weapon. Which, well, it should... Don't know what the stats are for the normal one offhand, but 760 total damage. There is a briefcase weapon that they are just not going to show. They're bringing a new flux rifle. Hopefully the skin that is on them is kind of finalized, because I really like that pattern on there a lot. And, oh yes, the Tetra. Actually kind of disappointed on this. The magazine is 120. But the normal one is 50, bigger magazine. Total damage is 22. Well, the normal one has 22 as well, which means this thing should probably make you go away so we can see. Crit chance. Hang on, I just need to move my face closer to the screen. That works better. It has more crit. Ooh, more crit is huge, actually. The fire rate's going from 12 to 15, more fire rate, same damage, more DPS. The flux rifle is about to get a huge increase in damage and just basically everything about this. The damage itself is still going to stay at 22. The normal one is 22, and as you can see, this one says 22. More importantly here, it has a higher fire rate. Beam-based weapons, the higher the fire rate, the more damage it does. The DPS will go through the roof. Plus, the crit has gone from 10% to 20. The multiplier is 2%, that's only 1.8. But it also has a much bigger magazine. The normal one has a magazine of 50. This is 120. Increasing the fire rate, bigger magazine. This thing should be so much better. It was the Orca Plasmor. Obviously, this is the Sisters of Parvos' version of weapons. So, 760. This is where I quite happily turn around and say the normal one does 600 damage. 760 damage, much more damage, much better. Possibly, maybe just that little bit more important is the crit chance is exactly the same. The crit multiplier, however, is gone from 1.6 to 2. One thing you have to remember about this, hence I'm not going to go into the secondaries when we get there, is, well... This is all subject to change. The pH is placeholder, the stats can change, but the fact that it's basically doing the same crit and everything is almost exactly the same, apart from the fact it has more status. It's gone from 28 to 34. More damage, that could be good. There is new secondaries to go with this. Ooh, okay, there's the Chiron. That was a pretty decent secondary. Nothing amazing, but... There is a Sisters of Parvos version. Boom. Okay. New Detron. Not a dual wielding one like I was hoping for the longest of time, but come on. A new Detron is huge. But there is a couple problems with this. The damage of the normal Detron was 280. This is 260. The magazine used to be 5. It's now 6. If it's red, it's blurry for me. It's going to be even blue. It's just going to be a red smudge for you. Multi-shot is, well, questionable, because the stats I'm looking at don't actually show multi-shot. Crit multiplier that had a crit percent of 4 now has a crit percent of 18. That is where this thing starts to come into play. Right up until that point, it was kind of sucky. Right up until you look a little bit down the screen. Remembering this is per projectile, it has a burst fire mode now. It doesn't go into what the damage numbers are for it. It's just zeros across the board, but it has a burst fire mode. The Detron in a magazine emptying burst fire mode. Now I understand why it does less damage. But if you go to a relay and you go see the leader of parent sequence, that is going to be a new store with weapons we have already seen before. But they do actually go in and have a look at them, and you have... That's what it was. It's a scythe. I knew there was one that I forgot about. Then there is, as we already know, the giant two-handed Nakana thing that, to be fair, the briefcase side of it looks kind of weird, but was looking forward to this, and this is where they mention the fact the stats on the side may be changing. That's the big heavy sword, and that is the hammer and shield. Which is, I was right, it's a hammer, not a sword and shield. Then they get into how you are going to get your Sisters of Parvos to come after you. Go to the Granum Void, use a Zenith coin. All you have to do is finish. You have to come out with probably the first level, just complete it. Which means getting at least the first level like so. And upon ending and coming out of it, Parvos will be around. He is going to spawn in the mission you are doing. Obviously, you have to do the Granum Void to get this, which means you have to do corpus-based missions, but they spawn everywhere. You just have to use a Zenith coin to do it. And there you can see, Parvos has spawned. And that is basically going to be the equivalent of the Kuvaling. More importantly, he's there, but he's just gone invisible. Wait. There. You will still be able to choose which weapon you want. And because I know I'm going to have to do this again so you can actually see him, there he is. Parvos spawns in and then instantly went invisible. Though, click it around, yes. You basically take it out like a Kuvaling, and you can see the weapon beforehand, which is great because it means you can concentrate on getting specific weapons before other ones. As tempting as the Arca Plasma is, I'm sorry, Flux Rifle for the win. Oh no, that Detron looks really promising. I haven't decided which ones I'm going to go for first. There is too many. But I also like the fact that the suitcase guns have, for some reason, been plucked from the Sisters of Parvos drops. That is going to be inside of the store. No longer dropped from them. Though, to get the whole suitcase guns, you're going to have to do railjack missions, because the requirement for that is what I am assuming this is in the top right hand corner of the screen. But, I can't really get a good angle of it. After that, instead of taking out thralls, you have to take out the doggy. You would have seen it earlier in the ephemera part of it, but you have to take out these. They did mention there'll be magnetic damage they're using against you, basically to suck your abilities, wipe out your shields, and try and take you down, making these battles just that little bit harder. But obviously, the doggies, as they've mentioned before, are going to be their version of thralls, which means taking them down. And then, well, I'm going to have to show this, aren't I? Taking them out. I thought they'd actually taken it out by this point, and I hate the fact that it goes all blurry. One downed, and yep, dog lovers should have looked away. Once you do find out what their combination is, they run away to railjack missions, top right of the screen. That'll pop up, and well, they're going to be hiding inside of the railjack missions on here. Now, they do also go into mentioning anybody else who has their Kuva Lich or their Sisters of Parvos enemies on here will be able to do it at the same time. That has me intrigued more than anything else, because if you think about it, when you take out your Kuva Lich, you have to choose what to do with them. But if you're doing it with other people, they can then have theirs spawn after yours. But they refer to this mission as there's basically a bunch of bosses and other stuff on the way to get to the Sisters of Parvos that is after you. And even though they did talk about 3 new Kuva weapons, they only really showed 1, because they are, with the Sisters of Parvos update, going to be new weapons for that as well. And that's this. This is the only weapon I care about for the new Kuva weapons. That I'm going to go for before anything else, because, well, the heck was my entry level to this game. I'm looking forward to that, pun intended here, heck of a lot. Then, of course, there was the biggie, the main reason a lot of people tuned into the dev stream. See Yareli in action. It weirdly started off with her second ability, Morelina? I cannot remember the name of that offhand. It is basically her signature K drive, that thing in the bottom right, they started to address it, but they didn't finish addressing what it was. They got distracted with the fact that her passive basically increases crit. So, well, it increases crit while moving. So being on the board, moving around, means she's going to be doing more crit. So basically she is an active, moving around, constant frame. But it's basically a K drive. They did later actually go into naming and lots of other things, and somebody mentioned, later referred to as the Kraken drive, because, as you could probably guess, Yareli is a water-based frame. That is basically, I wish at some point that you could actually look backwards, because you can see water particles and everything else coming off this thing as you're kind of moving around. But to kind of settle the question about this, yes, it is an ability. You can see it returns to water, Hydroid takes it away, and Hydroid brings it back. Because that's where his Kraken comes from, probably where the Kraken part came from. But, yeah, the K drive itself is not going to be a passive. It's not her 4th or 5th ability, it's her 2nd ability. Her first ability was something called Sea Snares, the ability to guide water globlets that ensnare and deal damage over time. Do believe, yep, there they go. So you can ensnare enemies and deal damage over time with these, and they will actually hunt out enemies. Everything so far looks like, well, she could be a decent frame. Right up until her 3rd was cast, and then you start to think, okay, now she's definitely going to be a really good frame, because, well, Aqua Blades deals damage to enemies in range. I'm going to take a guess at this point and say Yareli is going to need range mods, because if this is basically her damaging ability, one of her damaging abilities, because her 1st deals damage, her 2nd doesn't, but her 3rd does, and you can see they're all castable from this. From the 2nd ability, the K drive, it's pretty much what everybody's going to refer to it as, mainly because even though I have the name wrote down, I cannot remember how that's supposed to be pronounced. But yeah, flying around on this thing, dealing damage, remembering her passive activates when she is moving, so the more she moves around, the more crit she's doing. I'm assuming that's kind of capped. It just, if she is moving around, she does more crit. Not the faster she moves, the more crit she does. And that right there is Cyclone Strike, her 4th ability. As weird as it does look, this is basically a water-based, it's called Cyclone Strike. It's a cyclone. Or, it's Zephyr. But it doesn't move, it's fixed. It does exactly the same kind of thing Zephyr's does. Using it, sucks in enemies. Didn't really say if it does damage to them, mainly because they didn't get to that point, because there was a, I'm just going to say issue. It's about to pop up on the bottom left, by the way. But yeah, it sucks them in and shoots them out, which is kind of similar to what Zephyr does. So this frame is actually looking like Yareli could be a really good frame. And I'm kind of now looking forward to her. Beforehand, it was one of those, well, she's coming, obviously. She's going to be water-based frames. She's going to have those that K drive there to move around with, mixed with the water cannon that you can get from the Dog Days event, 7th of June. Yeah, could be a pretty decent frame. I would love to see them release this at the same time. There's the issue in the bottom left, so yeah, let's move on. Ending with what is basically their stay tuned to the social channels for the release date, simultaneous release on all platforms sometime in June. Hopefully sooner rather than later, and I think we'll leave this off here for now. I wish that stance was a thing, as weird as that may be to say. But yes, that would be a great stance for her. Just though the idle animations they have for her are good anyway, that would just be better. But I think we'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.